As Betheseda slowly recovers from both the aftershock and aftermath of the incompetently managed and prematurely released Fallout 76, let us return to what is undoubtedly one of my favourite games of all time, Fallout 4. If I were to be stuck on a desert island with a solar-powered PS4 and HD TV and was only allowed to choose one game to have to play, Fallout 4 may very well be the game that I would choose. In the countless hours of single-player games that I have played, Fallout 4 has consumed the most. If we were to judge the monetary value of a game by the number of hours a player will play it, then Fallout 4 would have, in this case, paid for itself numerous times over. Yet Fallout 4 is not for everyone, and is certainly far from a perfect game. It remains quirky and at times glitchy. Combat is heavily reliant on a form of slow motion known as VATS, as normal combat is a bit like trying to hit a roadrunner with a catapult. However, one thing is for sure, if you can master how to hit targets in Fallout 4 with a sniper rifle without using VATS, then you're going to be a formidable opponent in just about any other game I could mention. What proves to be one of its greatest strengths, as far as I am concerned, may well lend itself to be its greatest weakness to others, and that is the inclusion of the ability to build settlements. It certainly has been a controversial inclusion, dividing the fans of the franchise, as what was initially billed as an optional activity soon proved to be not so optional after all. It is true that you can play the game without doing any form of settlement building whatsoever, but in doing so you negate what is actually a brilliant inclusion to the game, the idea that almost all of the detailing within the environments, the objects such as toasters, bottles, cups, you name it, can be looted and converted into resources to build other things, such as buildings, lights, water resources, generators, turrets, etc., effectively turning Fallout 4 into a looter-shooter. Normally, when I create reviews, I try to be as objective as possible and attempt to steer clear of a constant personal experience narrative, but this is very difficult to do with this game in particular, because it is a game that checks so many boxes in what, for me, makes a great interactive experience. 1. In-depth but clear and easy to learn role-playing game elements, as opposed to, say, Warframe. Check. A unique and enthralling atmosphere despite the countless other games that deal with post-apocalyptic scenarios and horrific ideas. Check. 3. A well thought out and engrossing main storyline that also affords you true freedom to do other things at your leisure, and Fallout 4 is one of the first games to have successfully implemented this. Check. 4. Detailed, varied and aesthetically pleasing environments with strong implementation of level design ingenuity, despite it being in a horrific post-nuclear war scenario. Check. If we set aside the settlement building and resource gathering aspect of the game, we are still left with a compelling main story with numerous colourful and well created characters which are brought to life by excellent voice acting work.
Twin City means keeping me out, is that it? Oh, look, it's the scary reporter. Boom.
I'm sorry, but Mayor McDonough's really steamed, Piper. Saying that.
As well as many varied side missions and places of interest to discover. There are a litany of narrative devices, such as computer terminals, notes, etc., that provide information about the world and its inhabitants that help bring the Fallout 4 universe to life. In addition to this, there are plenty of collectibles ranging from magazines and collectible statues that give special perks to rare and exotic weaponry and armour, all with unique features and bonuses. Complementing this is a varied and well-structured skill chart with many interesting options, many of which either affect or offer different approaches to gameplay. Yet the game really isn't a complete experience without settlement building. There are very few games that allow the ability to directly affect the gaming world in this way, whilst also allowing the player the freedom to utilise their own imagination to complement the great environment work that is already in place. It is little doubt that the modding community of Oblivion are largely responsible for Betheseda including a streamlined level design editor within the game, and although rather awkward and clunky to use, it is still a commendable addition to a game that can be played on consoles. The process of creating, continually developing and managing your own settlement creations almost becomes a game within a game. Even now, 4 years after release, and taking into consideration the multiple playthroughs of the game that I have experienced, Fallout 4 still strikes me with that alluring atmosphere, that phenomenal soundtrack by Inon Zur, and that genuine sense of adventure and exploration as it did when I first played it. Fallout 4 is, for me, undoubtedly one of the greatest games ever made. A masterpiece of truly immersive entertainment that manages to take its flaws in its stride and actually convert them into acceptable quirks. Even if Fallout 76 doesn't stand the test of time, Fallout 4, for this reviewer at least, undoubtedly will.